Yo, what's going on, guys? And of course, we got to talk about what are the Warriors going to do. They have came out and said they're not going to trade Jimmy Butler, who is expected to miss the rest of this season due to his torn ACL that he suffered against Miami Heat the other night, I believe, January 20th and 2026. Now, the expectation is Kuminga will be traded. Obviously, Kuminga, in lieu of the injury, has played decent in the game after it happened. Now, I still think that him and Buddy Hield allows you to take on a $30 million player, and then you throw in Moses Moody that allows you to take a $40 million player that could be a flyer / somebody who will be able to coexist next year with Jimmy Butler. Coming back from a torn ACL, most guys take a year. Some guys take a year and a half if it happens at the midway or after the All-Star break. They just kind of like take a red shirt and don't play that season, not to risk it. And I think Jimmy, he's probably going to be back around January, maybe sooner. So when we look around the league, or let's first talk about like what the Warriors need to address when they're going out, because maybe they tried to go by committee approach and not try to like mess up like the chemistry that they already have, and just try to replace those three players with three guys or two guys instead of just one dude. And I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Who would you trade for and why? What would you do? Like, comment, subscribe. We're also hearing this could be Steve Kerr's last season, as the reports are saying that the assistant coaches of the Warriors are preparing for Steve Kerr not to return after this season. While I also want to say, any other trades we talk about, let me know what draft capital you guys think needs to be included. I'll just say trade sweetener, as everybody's opinions on what draft capital or what compensation for the player should be. So I rather just hear your guys' thoughts than give out an arbitrary, draft compensation that people think is too little or too much. So at 25-20, they're 8th in the Western Conference. They have been 7-3 in their last 10. They did lose their last game versus Toronto. They're playing tonight against Dallas. They're 9th in the league in net rating with almost +3. They're solid, in their point differential. And their offensive rating is 11th with 116.8. And then they have the 10th best defensive rating at 113.8. And I've said this before, championship teams, or at least the teams that make it to the championship game historically, are teams that have at least a top 15 offensive or defense rating paired with a top 10 offensive or defensive rating. So the Warriors hypothetically are right on the fringe of that, and their pace is 99.6, which is 18th, a little bit on the back half of the league. And we know with them losing their second leading scorer, torn ACL, January 19th, not 20th, he's a 20-point per game scorer, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and one of their primary wing defenders. The Anthony Milton and Gary Payton II, I think, are going to shore up the defense. I'm not concerned. It's more the scoring. Seth Curry, they're still waiting to come back, I believe, from like sciatica, and then Al Horford's just a guy who's getting like load management because he's old as hell. Without all that being said, Steph Curry is playing 32 minutes a night. He's still an incredibly heavy usage guy. He's the engine. 32.3% is his usage rate, and he's been efficient. All right, 27 points a night. To me, I know B-Pod's someone that has been starting for them. Also, he's someone that like is a 6-man for them. I think he's best utilized as a 6-man in this if they trade for somebody, because starting wise, they have Quinn Post and Al Horford. Obviously, Quinn Post, 18 minutes a night, has been the primary starting big. He's shooting 56% true shooting in the limited minutes, stretching the floor. You got Draymond Green, 27 minutes a night. really only giving you 9 points a night, but 5 assists and still being a 3-5 defender. And Kuminga in this increased role, yeah, his negative 4.2 BPM is not great, box plus minus. So I just think they're just going to try to find some players who are just more effective in their minutes. Moses Moody is someone that I think they wouldn't want to move because he's just been solid for them, and he's a started in 32 games. He's struggling from, at times, like in terms of consistency, but he's still one of their better 3-point shooters, even though like it hasn't been his best 3-point shooting. I think he's corrected course as of late. DeAnthony Milton, 21 minutes a night, and he's still working his way back from the torn ACL he had last year, and he's their best point of attack defender, as well as Will Richard and Gary Payton II. And Will Richard's seen a bunch of run. Buddy Hield's, the shooting specialist, and he's just been less efficient and has a lower volume than he's had in the past. Trayce Jackson-Davis is someone that could also get traded. Even though he's been getting some more runs lately, he's just not a part of this team's future. So Gary Payton, Pat Spencer as well. How can you forget them? This is a team that ranks first in 3-point attempts, almost 45 threes a game. They're an offense that is a motion offense that's built on generating open 3-point looks, and a top 10 defense, despite being undersized, is huge. And obviously a rim protector would be great, but I don't know if that's necessarily a need. This is why like a Nick Richards, Jalen Green package, people are like, why Jalen Green? If you can turn Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield and Moses Moody into Nick Richards and Jalen Green, you get yourself the scorer, and in Jalen Green to replace Jimmy Butler, and you get a shot blocking, rim running, lob threat in Nick Richards, who's on an expiring contract. And this is the team that averages 29 assists a night, almost 5th in the league as a unit. And despite their ranking first in attempts on 3-pointers, they actually rank 29th in 3-point percentage, 36.7 as a unit. They shoot a lot of threes and they miss a lot of threes. They're 25th in turnover percent, 13.6. They're sort of careless with the ball. And it's really because they don't have like a secondary point guard. And Seth Curry coming back from injury is going to be helpful for the 3-point shooting, as well as their rebounding. Their defensive rebounding percentage is 23rd. They struggle to end defensive possessions. While they rank 30th in 2-point attempts, they are entirely reliant on the 3-ball. They do or die by the 3-ball. They don't pressure the rim at all, and that's going to like drop dramatically with Jimmy Butler being out. And they're now down a 20-point per game score. That's a massive hole. In their current roster, Kuminga and Moody. Kuminga is a high teen scorer, but he's always been more of a 6-man. And Moody and B-Pot are all like teen scoring in the teens per game on lower efficiency. This team needs a scorer who can create their own shot, as Butler was the only other player besides Steph creating significant offense for himself and for others. With the team ranking 29th in 3-point percentage, Seth Curry hopefully comes back. They need a reliable shooter, and their active roster has been streaky. And Buddy Hield's a 36% 3-point shooter, and others are underperforming relative to the volume needed in their career stats. Rebounding and rim protection, this is a small team. You can just look at it on paper. The starting center, Quinn Post, is a stretch big, and they're going by center by committee with him, Trayce Jackson-Davis, Al Horford, and Draymond Green. Their rebounding is a bottom third weakness. They need a big secure the glass and prevent second chance point opportunities from occurring like they've been. As well as the Warriors give up 4.4 extra points off of turnovers compared to their opponents, implied by like their turnover rank. They need to have another ball handler that can steady it alongside Curry. So when we look around the league, who are some of those guys that could do that? And what, again, we've said it's probably Moses Moody, Buddy Hield, Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga and Buddy Hield are the two options. Then Trace Jackson Davis. I think they would want to keep Moses Moody, and so we're looking at a guy guys making about $30 million. So the market is ripe for options. And let's talk about it. I want to hear your thoughts. I think they're going to want to either get someone that they are inheriting his bird rights or restricted free agency if it is an expiring contract so they can re-sign him, or someone who's already extended. I think natural assumption is this is where, if they really think about contending in their seriousness, Trey Murphy might be the guy that they could go after. From my understanding, the Warriors are able to trade as they don't have any obligations or rights due to anybody for their 2026 first rounder, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2031, and 2032 first round picks. They do have a 2030 second rounder and their 2031 second rounder. Minnesota holds the rights to swap. And those are the draft picks that they're armed with. So if they're looking for guys that could be trade eligible and are making under $30 million, maybe a Kristaps Porzingis could be the guy that they look at. I said it earlier, the ones that I think is, you're looking at the Pelicans at either Zion Williamson or Trey Murphy. We'll break that down because I feel like that's a type of guy. We mentioned earlier Jalen Green and Nick Richards. That's, I feel like, a decent combination of guys. But if you're able to get Trey Murphy, who's making $25 million, and also if you're also able to get Herb Jones, the combination of the two might be able to save you your season. You might have to sell the farm because it's going to cost you all three players of Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, and Jonathan Kuminga at least 2 first-round picks. Now, does that automatically change everything? I don't know, but I think it definitely improves their odds. I think they're also a team that might want to see what they could get a bargain-wise, and that's why they've been connected to Klay Thompson, bringing back Klay. And I think that could also be a multi-tiered trade where if they can get themselves Klay Thompson and Daniel Gafford, or Klay Thompson and a ball handler. Now, the ball handler might be a little bit harder to happen. To me, the trade that could solve everything is an Orlando Magic, Dallas Mavericks, Warriors trade where Klay Thompson and Daniel Gafford, or Goga Bitadze and Tyus Jones with Klay Thompson, go to the Warriors, and Buddy Hield, and if it's just Tyus Jones and Buddy Hield, would go to the Magic because they need, 3-horn shooting, and he fits being a cheaper contract or about the same as Tyus Jones. While if they did Bitadze, you would send them also probably Moses Moody or Jonathan Kuminga, probably Moses Moody, to make the money work. So let me just line it up for you guys so you guys get what I'm saying. The Warriors would hit up the Mavs. I think the ideal one is Daniel Gafford and Klay Thompson. You bring back Klay Thompson. It's a reunion that's been kind of rumored in the back end of the internet and reports. And the way you would do this is you would send Kuminga and Moody to the Mavs. Kuminga gives the Mavs the team option and the cap flexibility to move off of the contract of Daniel Gafford and Klay Thompson, because then they'll be able to get themselves in position to, somebody else, because now they get Klay Thompson or get off of Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, and they get Kuminga, whose contract is an expiring, essentially, as if he has a team option that'll be declined. And then Moody's going to replace the production of Klay Thompson and be better, in my opinion. While when you look at the Mavs, Gafford just recently got paid and they're rebuilding. He just doesn't fit the timeline. He's the shot blocking rim protector that would make the center by committee approach that much better. And almost arguably elite. And just doing the Moody, Kuminga for Gafford and Klay Thompson, I believe does not work because it would make the Mavericks $3 million over. So instead of Moody, it would have to be Buddy Hield instead. And that's where, again, you have to understand all like the cap minutia that would be going on right here. As I mentioned earlier, Buddy makes 9.2, which is a bit more than Tyus Jones, $2.2 million more than Tyus Jones. So for a team like the Orlando Magic, they wouldn't be ducking the tax. And like I mentioned, it would, instead of being Moody, it would be Buddy Hield and Kuminga for Thompson and Gafford. If it was just a 2-team trade swapping, obviously in that scenario, I think 2 second-round picks with Kuminga and Hield for Gafford and Klay Thompson is realistic compensation. Now, in the 3-team trade, instead of having Buddy Hield go to the Mavs, which in this scenario, I guess like Buddy Hield would actually still have to go to the Mavs because the Mavs would have to trade somebody else in this deal, which they could. Like, they could include a Jaden Hardy to the Orlando Magic, but they would just add more players to this and just make it not as realistic. So Moses Moody instead goes to the Warriors for Tyus Jones, who's on a 1-year deal. And it hasn't been working out in Orlando, but he's a career, like, never turns the ball over. So he's just somebody that I think if you look at that and then you send Moody to the Magic, and that financially doesn't work because the Magic would be over 4.5 million. So they would actually have to include someone like a Jet Howard, maybe to the Mavericks, to make that deal work. But by including Jet Howard, that puts the Mavericks over. So that does complicate things a bit. Does that mean like Jet Howard would have to go to the Warriors, and the Warriors send Trace Jackson Davis to the Mavs? And you can't do that because that would put the Mavs over. So Trace Jackson Davis or Guy Santos, probably Trace Jackson Davis, because you'd be the odd man out right here, goes to the Magic, and then that'll make it. Wow, so you wouldn't be able to trade, so it just would have to be straight up to make this work. If the Warriors were to get Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, Tyus Jones, and Jet Howard, obviously draft pick compensation to both teams, the Mavericks would get Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield, and the Orlando Magic walk away with Moses Moody. They create $1.7 million in apron space and save almost $1 million in cap. The Mavericks increase $666,000 in like cap impact, and the Warriors $289,000. I don't know, it's not terrible.